Welcome to episode 137 of the Sports Geek podcast. This week I chat Facebook with Jacob Berman.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals.
And now, here's your host who retired with a softball batting average of 1,000, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. You are listening to the Sports Geek podcasts. And let's face it, you're listening to it on Pocket Cast because I mention it every single podcast. Surely you're on board by now. My name is Sean Callanan. I am your host. You can find me on all social channels under the name Sean Callanan. Unless you're on Facebook, you can find me my Facebook page at Sean Callanan Speaks if you want to follow what I'm doing there. Or you can contact me via any of those means, or you can use old school methods. Sean at Sports Geek HQ will get me. Really looking forward to presenting this chat with you. Met up with Jacob in Las Vegas last year, and he's always keeping me up to date with the latest trends in Facebook ad products. And you know from listening to this podcast, I'm a big fan of what Facebook is doing in the ad space, the constant evolution and the development that they're doing in that space. Why? Because we keep having success helping teams sell tickets, helping teams sell more merch. There's a lot of opportunities for sports teams to get some really good commercial results by augmenting what they're doing with some paid spend in the Facebook space. So here is my chat with Jacob Berman from Facebook. Very happy to welcome Jacob Berman from the Global Marketing Solutions teams out of Austin, Texas for Facebook. Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, Jacob.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, first of all, describe your role at Facebook and how you came to be working at Facebook out of Austin. Most people think of Facebook and think of Silicon Valley. You're based out of Austin. Tell us a little bit about your role and how you got there.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in the entertainment space for about 7 years now. I was working at Viacom, or better known as MTV Networks, for a couple years. And all of my experience has been focused on digital advertising. So after MTV, I was at an ad network. So I got to see kind of the programmatic buying side of things. And then more recently, almost 3 years now here at Facebook, working primarily with sports teams. And really my main role is to partner with teams, and you can think of me as kind of a strategic partner to understand their business objectives and pair our ad solutions that we built out so that they are being able to drive their business forward.
So that leads in a good position of, the sports market. So what is the sports market looking for and the solutions looking for from Facebook, and sort of how does it plug into the ad solutions that Facebook is offering and continues to evolve?
Yeah. So I think just from an engagement perspective, I think sports really, they have the power to build and connect communities, and we do that here at Facebook as well. So we work really hard to bring together a community of these sports fans. I think we have around 650 million people who are connected to at least one sports page. It was interesting. Chris Harris, I was listening to one of your past podcasts from Arsenal, was talking about the importance of storytelling. And I think teams can definitely take advantage of that on Facebook and Instagram because fans can discover rich and immersive video that brings them closer to the sports and athletes and teams that they love. Some innovations that we've made with Facebook Live and Facebook 360 video, giving fans access to the action, taking them behind the field or taking them on the field in the locker room, inviting them to interact directly with their favorite players. This is something really important to teams and to sports fans. So a couple activations that I wanted to mention that I think were really interesting. Before his race in Rio, Michael Phelps used Facebook Live to answer questions from fans and confirm his retirement from competitive swimming. I thought that was pretty cool. After the Cleveland Cavaliers captured their first ever NBA title in June, the team went live from its locker room, allowing fans to virtually celebrate with LeBron James and his team. You could taste the champagne.
Yeah.
Before the matchup with Louisville this past fall, Clemson used 360 video to give the fans an intimate look from every angle at what it's like to take part in one of college football's most iconic entrances, the run down the hill. You felt like you were there. So I think just from an engagement perspective and a fan base perspective, teams have a lot of opportunity.
And I think that was been the initial pull for fans and for teams alike, that Facebook offers that connection, offers that one-to-many connection, and teams having, traditionally pre-Facebook, pre-social media, all their contact with fans was through traditional media, and now the teams have got that direct line. So they've gone with the engagement first, their content, and you've seen digital teams develop that are serving the fans, and it is that, keeping them informed, engaging them, deepening the ties with the fans. And then now I guess the next piece is they're building these fan bases, and they're looking to how do they get commercial results out of them, whether that be, one of the phrases we use in the podcast is the cheeks and the seats. How do they get people into the stadium? How do they sell more merchandise? How do they get more data so they can start communicating with their fans on different levels via email? And that's where you're starting to work with more. That's where you're working with teams on to get some more of those commercial results out of their efforts from Facebook.
Definitely. And I want to expand a little bit on that as well. I think historically, as you mentioned, teams have gotten used to having a built-in ecosystem of fans. More recently, I don't think that's been the case. It's become a bit of a challenge. Mm-hmm. A big part of this new challenge is the fact that fans are spending, a lot of time on their mobile phone. 1 in 5 minutes on mobile is spent with Facebook and Instagram, actually. Yep. And people are getting inundated with brands trying to market to them. I think teams are having to work harder to reach their fans and getting them to convert. And this means as a whole, teams need to have a really thought out strategy for what they're doing. When we first started introducing our ad products, brands and teams were focusing on optimizing towards proxies, likes, comments, shares. And over the past years, our product teams have worked really hard to build out these robust ad solutions that are rooted in making sure that the dollars being spent with us are as efficient as possible, and that the brands can accurately measure the effectiveness of their campaigns. So a full funnel approach on mobile is going to ensure that teams are talking to as many potential customers as they can at the right time, both in the US and internationally, engaging with fans, getting them excited, and ultimately having them invest with the team. Because when people spend time with you, either watching your content or even making a purchase, whether it's a ticket or merchandise, they're investing in your brand or your team. So, to kind of continue that, yes, I am working with a lot of teams to help them understand how to use Facebook ad products to drive their business objectives. And I think, to kind of start off, a good segue or a good use of using Facebook ad solutions really starts with kind of the organic content strategy. Yep. If we talk about organic content and paid marketing, they kind of go hand in hand. The best way to really integrate this organic content and your paid marketing initiatives is to make sure that when you're creating the strategy, you have the right people in the room, right? Yep. People handling things on the marketing side or the paid advertising side of the business need to be working hand in hand with the organic content team. A third group I would say to include in those discussions would also be like the analytics and measurement, because the way people engage with your content ultimately can inform how you should market your paid initiatives and vice versa.
I think that's really important of getting your content team, because that's been the focus, the really early focus of how do we produce killer content that our fans will like, and getting that to work with your paid strategy, because the better your content is, the cheaper your paid strategy is. And the fact that, Facebook wants to amplify and push killer content. If you've got killer content, then your acquisition to reach more fans and have more people see your videos is far cheaper. Whereas if you have that, so if you have those two sort of strategies siloed, and you've got the content team worrying about content, and then an ad team building out ads that aren't leveraging the really killer content you've got on the other side, it's really disjointed, and you're not really taking full advantage of what Facebook's trying to offer, which is it wants to amplify the best content that is on the platform. And if people are consuming the content or they're clicking through on the content to go through and do a transaction on the other side, that's exactly what they want. So it has to be hand in hand. And if it's completely separated, you will be paying overs for that separation because you haven't integrated it.
Yeah, and also too, we as marketers kind of, when we think about them in two separate ways, when people see ads or posts within their feed, they don't see the difference, or they should ideally. So if you have this amazing content that also has some sort of paid initiative behind it that's engaging and you're targeting the right people, it's going to be a lot more relevant for that person, and that person will kind of not necessarily see the difference, which is hopefully what we would strive for, because we want that content, regardless if it's an ad or just a regular post, to be valuable to that person.
Yeah, and that's pretty much, a lot of the discussion I had with Dennis Yu and the stuff that they've done with the Golden State Warriors, in that, they're pushing out this great video content, and then that video content is being amplified and the fans love it, but then it starts creating these audiences that you can go back to whether it be sell ticketing or merch, and start building out these audiences. And that's where the killer content is driving the extended strategy of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, definitely. And also a great example of this recently is actually with Team Canada. For the Olympics, Team Canada unveiled their official team gear using Facebook Live. They live streamed the fashion show event, which went out to all of their page fans, and then followed up with people who had watched the video with ads prompting them to then buy the merchandise that was displayed in the video. So it's a great example of marrying kind of this, awesome content that you have with a paid marketing initiative, and, everyone is kind of happy in that situation.
And I think the good thing about doing things like that Team Canada did with the live is to get your content team to understand these audiences that are getting built. So, recently, from the audiences side of the Facebook ad product, you can build out these audiences based on data you might load in and those kind of things, and people visit your website. But now they're doing more. There's more available on page engagement. So you can say how many people watched that video, how many people watched 50% of that video, and it gives you a really good idea of who's watching our video, but potentially to start opening your content team, your digital team's eyes to, well, these are the audience that we're building and we're engaging. And then the marketers understand that. They understand these buckets of fans and these audiences that could potentially be ripe for purchasing a ticket, purchasing the new kit that got launched, as you just described there. And that's the thing. You don't have to be paying anything to get these audiences, and it's super valuable for, like you said, the analytics guys, the analytics team, to look into the data and say, oh, there's a really big opportunity here. We've got people that are highly engaged, that live in the local market, that are engaging with our video. What should we be doing? What should we be doing with that? How can we use that in our paid strategy? So it's really on the content team to be building out these audiences, because that's where the power is.
Yeah, and I would also say we now give you the ability to retarget people who have opened a Canvas ad and also a lead ad. So, expanding kind of on what you mentioned in terms of creating audiences of people who've watched the video, I think we are giving brands more opportunities to re-engage with customers that are interested in what the brand has to offer.
So you spoke there a little bit about Canvas ads and lead ads, and it's part of the extension and the ever-evolving extension of the Facebook ad platform. Lead ads allow you to effectively have a data capture page inside Facebook. The fans just click on the ad and it pops up and asks for whatever details you ask for. How have you found that being useful from a sports team point of view? Because a lot of them are looking at their Facebook numbers and longingly and going, oh, we want that data in our CRM. How effective is that as a product been for sports to start sort of tapping into that market?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've actually seen some teams start to adopt the lead ads and see a lot of success we actually just published a case study with the Milwaukee Bucks. They were wanting to boost sales of full season and half season ticket packages. So they aimed to collect that fan information and encourage people to learn more about and eventually purchase a ticket package. For most of these teams, garnering leads is a bit tough. And if you can make that sign up process as seamless as possible, people are going to give you their, submit their information a bit easier. So with lead ads, it makes it super seamless. And a lot of teams will follow up. They'll have a sales team that follows up with these people. So the quicker they can get the leads, the faster they can kind of get that process started. So the Milwaukee Bucks actually ran a campaign using lead ads, and they partnered with a CRM system, Marketo. They had already been using Marketo to integrate leads they'd gotten from other channels, and in addition to Facebook. And you can marry the two. You can use Marketo and lead ads so that the leads are given to you in real time. And saw an overall 36x return on ad spend. If we dig in a bit deeper on the results, they were able to see that 33% of the leads driven from Facebook bought the advertised product that they were advertising for. 20% of the leads bought upgraded ticket products, and then the leads had a 40% higher close rate compared to just an average web lead. So we've been seeing a lot of teams adopt this lead ad unit and seeing success.
And the thing is that it's not a one swing of the bat. It's, hey, we're going to capture the data and we're going to move them into our CRM and into our email marketing campaign or into our sales team workflow, and that's where the sale gets made. So there is success in, hey, here's an ad, buy the ticket. There's a game coming up, and I know that you've bought tickets before. That is something that works, but it's not the only way to go about it. Capturing the data, then moving them to a platform that has been very successful for you, whether it's been driving into Marketo or into other CRMs. Like it is more nuanced and more integrated and a bigger picture than I'm spending this dollar and I expect a ticket buy in that sense. That is one facet you can do, but there are multiple ways to get that same result.
Yeah, and one thing I'm really excited to let you know about, we actually just announced this week. I don't know if you may know this, but we're launching the capability to run lead ads across Instagram. It's going to be a slow rollout, so it won't hit everyone's account probably till the end of February. But that is another opportunity to tap into the audience that is probably on Facebook is also on Instagram and capture leads that way as well. So I'm excited to announce that.
Oh, that's terrific. And so with those kind of things, and, I speak to, sports executives, where they're working the digital team or some that are working on the marketing side and the paid spend, there is so many changes coming out in the advertising platforms, whether they be lead ads, Instagram being added in the last 12 months, and other things, mooted and saying that they're on the path. Where do you send people to keep up with these changes and to know when they're coming? Because what we've seen historically with Facebook, when something new comes out, it's always better to be that early adopter to be able to test it out, because when it is getting tested out, it gets a lot of press and it's something that is a new product. Where do you try to stay? Where should people look to stay in touch with? Well, these are the changes coming out. These are the things I want to be putting my 10% of my budget or 10% of my time to be able to test these new functionality.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think we are realizing that as well. There's a lot of information being sent out, and we're making updates to products. I think the first place that I would start is our Facebook for Business site. We actually just revamped it and are making it more interactive. So our Facebook for Business site has a help center, has all of the latest product updates that you would want to see. It's very informative, and I would definitely start there. The second thing for people even just trying to learn more about Facebook and ad products we offer and how to use them, we have an educational online course called Blueprint. And Blueprint provides a set of foundational courses that serve as a one-stop place for agencies, clients, and marketing partners to go to for all things Facebook marketing. I actually created a sports-specific Blueprint course that I can send over for you to include in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be terrific.
if you wanted to use it. It won't have sports-specific content, but all of the modules used are specific to what teams would want to use if they were trying to drive their business. And then ultimately, if you do have a Facebook rep, hopefully they're keeping you in the loop because they are tied to those marketing teams.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend, especially if you've got junior staff that want to figure out how the platforms work, to send them to Blueprint, because it does sort of walk you through the places. The other one that I sort of keep an eye on is the Insights blog from Facebook, because it's always giving out the snippets of sort of where you're headed and the findings and the research that you're doing in the space, because that always weaves back into the ad product. And then the business, Facebook for business and the Facebook for Instagram in the same way, to sort of see what the trends are. There's always snippets and stuff of what's happening in that space, and it's just a matter of staying on top of those kind of things.
Most definitely.
So we've sort of discussed the different types of ad products. What are some of the specific outcomes that you're finding that more and more sports teams are leaning into? Are they driving more into the data capture using the lead ads type of thing, or are they leading more into revenue-based campaigns, whether they be like ticket sales or merchandise sales, or are they doing stuff like Chris Harris was talking about geo-specific? We need to build up our fan base in this area, and we're just going to be doing both organic and paid in a geo-specific type of area. Is there a sort of a checklist of a team will start here and then they're going to start doing this stuff, or is it pretty much served whatever their purpose and whatever their goals are?
Yeah, I think it varies by team, but overall, what we're seeing in terms of teams coming to us to help them are, first of all, as we know, tickets, getting sheets and seats, as you say, single game and season tickets. The second would be, for some, merchandise. I think some teams are kind of exploring what they can do on the merchandise side. The fact that they have all this data on their customer base and can retarget people and create new audiences, I think is a huge opportunity for them. Another big thing that I think a lot of teams are kind of dipping their toes in are promoting their mobile app. So we have two solutions, one solution to drive installs and another solution to drive re-engagement. So I know as teams push out more content through their apps, or people using apps during the game day, I think that'll become more important. And then, as you mentioned, go ahead.
Yeah, so with the app thing, and when I get into full geek mode and people ask me about how do I promote an app, the key thing for that is to get the integration into the app so it can be tracked all the way through. So it takes a little bit of talking to your devs, and again, it's in the developer, it's in the developer side of the Facebook infrastructure and documentation. But it's in the same way that you can have Facebook pixels on your website, you've got to have the Facebook integration into your app, so Facebook can track that someone clicked on the ad and they end up in the app. So that's normally, if you've got a team that is working with their one developer, it's easier. If you've got a league that's got a league-wide app, it takes a little bit of toing and froing to get that stuff integrated. But that's what you've got to have that infrastructure in place. In the same way, if you want to do a ticketing campaign or a merchandise campaign, you've got to have that digital plumbing in place to be able to track it all the way through. And that's always the case in that scenario. So if you're looking to go down that path, you've got to talk to your geeks and get all those pieces set up. Once they're set up, everything's easy. I think merch is a real big opportunity, because it is one that if you're maintaining and running your online store, and you're seeing a stack of e-commerce success stories on Facebook and Instagram, especially because it's really leans into fashion. If you get the infrastructure right, then you can simply run an ad and say, please optimize conversions for people who buy stuff, and you can see the money in and the money out. And if you're getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 10x return, why wouldn't you keep putting money into that machine? So, but the getting that infrastructure in place for both web conversions and app conversions, you've got to do that hard work. And sometimes it is hard work getting your geeks to put in changes. But once it's in, then as a marketer, you're ready to go.
Yeah, and if I'm working with you directly, I'm happy to help get that set up. I'm always feel free to loop me into those conversations because I'm happy to help. And I think one more thing I want to mention on the app installs and engagement side, once you do get that tracking pixel in your app, we give you a free tool called App Analytics that showcases the behavior of people in your app and kind of allows you to create audiences off of that. So it's really a key thing to do if you're going to be running mobile app campaigns.
Yeah, the App Analytics has been upgraded just recently. I was at a client site and I don't know how, we stumbled across it and I went, I haven't seen this in ages. It used to be sort of domain insights and stuff because it works on the website as well. And it's had a bit of a bit of an upgrade. And yeah, you can dive in, see different demographics, see what your weekly users are, see what your monthly users are. So it's again, some really good data that's sitting there that shows you more about your audience. And then as a marketer, you can decide what you want to do with it.
100%.
So some of the important questions I've got for you, because you are based in Austin and I'm going to South by Southwest in March, I want some insider information on where people attending South by Southwest, where should they go coming from someone who's based in Austin? Yeah,
so it's tough because there's so much to do here. I would say Austin's such a great food town. So if you get the chance to go to a lot of restaurants, definitely do that. In terms of, you got to have barbecue while you're here. A couple places that I would suggest are Valentina's, Rudy's, and La Barbecue. Those are probably the 3 best barbecue spots in Austin that you'll be able to get into. Anything Tex-Mex here, I would highly recommend. There's a great Mexican place called Matt's El Rancho. I highly recommend that. Really good food. The Capitol is right downtown, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. I think a lot of businesses, I think I read recently there was 150 restaurants and bars that opened in the last year within Austin. So we're really a growing city, and there will be a lot to do.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of barbecue, so I'm really looking forward to heading to Austin. It should be good. As I said, looking forward to it. So I want to finish off with the Sports Geek closing 5. Yep. Do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
I believe it was a Houston Rockets game back when all of the, Olajuwon, Drexler, and all those guys were on the team. I grew up in Houston, so it was a Houston Rockets game. Was
it during the title years or during the funny rocket with Charles Barkley on the team? Sort of the Charles Barkley years would be years that Houston Rockets fans sort of go, oh yeah, we'll forget about those years.
Yeah. No, it was during the title years.
The title years, very good, very good. And we've just got off the conversation about barbecue in Austin. Do you have a favourite food memory at a sports event?
So I was at the Bulls game a couple years ago. Used to live in Chicago and had some really good nachos there. And I would highly recommend grabbing the nachos if you're going to the Bulls game.
Nachos are such a messy concession food. I'm just not a nachos at a sports event because I like to jump up and down and clap as if people have seen me at a game, but nachos don't fit for that. They're very messy eating.
Yeah, well, maybe only when you're going with your boys.
Yeah,
not your girlfriend.
That is true. That is true. I do ask, and this is you can just plead the fifth on this one. What is the first app you open in the morning? Do you have to say that it's Facebook, or is there an app that you go to when you open in the morning at the start of the day?
Actually, Instagram. I would say the first app I open is Instagram.
Just to catch up with friends, see what they've been up to. Take the pictorial version first.
Yep. Just to check in to see what friends are doing. I think I love how Instagram is, very visual. A lot of my friends are photographers too, so they post really good content. And also I follow a sports photographer. His name's Jason Peterson, and he has actually done some work for the Bulls, and I love seeing his photos. They're really unique.
Oh, that's terrific. You might have just preempted my next question. Who should the Sports Geek podcast listeners follow and why?
So definitely on the Instagram side, follow Jason Peterson. In terms of just in general, I would say Gary Vaynerchuk. Yep. He has, I'm sure you follow him already, but he has VaynerMedia and Vayner Sports, and is just very forward thinking in how the industry is going. So I would say Gary Vaynerchuk, and then also Dennis Yu. Dennis has been doing marketing for years and has some really amazing insights across all different platforms. So I really enjoy his content as well.
I wholly endorse both of those. Gary for his completely diving all in on all new platforms, some of the stuff he's doing on Instagram and Instagram stories and testing how they can work, and then the amount of video content he's putting out on his Facebook page is awesome. And as a podcaster, I still listen to a stack of the stuff, the content he's pushing out from a podcast point of view. Again, what is your Kevin Durant style? What is your social media platform that's your MVP?
I would say Instagram, but I'm actually going to say Messenger, because I use Messenger a lot to connect with friends. You can send payments, you can call Uber. So I would say Messenger, so I'm not saying Instagram again. No,
that's terrific. Thank you very much, Jacob, for coming on the podcast. Where can people find you on the internet if they want to reach out and say hello? Yeah,
if you want to just hit me up on Facebook or LinkedIn, that would probably be the best place.
All right. Well, I'll leave a link to your social channels on the show notes. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I look forward to catching up in March when I'm in your part of the world.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sean. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now.
Thanks again to Jacob Berman, a.k.a. 33 Berman, in the Sports Biz Slack. So please join us in the Sports Biz Slack. Ask Jacob a question. If you've got anything on that, I've got links to the show notes around some of the resources that Jacob mentioned, especially Facebook Blueprint. There'll be a special one there with a special token that can get you in, do some of the training, and it is something that you've got to set some time aside for to understand at least the basics. I've spoken about it before. Make sure you're capturing your data. Make sure you've got your pixels installed. Make sure your CRM and the data, you can validate it against Facebook. It's really valuable to begin with, and then you can start scratching the surface. But understanding and rolling out campaigns and understanding the ad products is I was about to say almost, it is a full-time job. So just expecting someone in your digital team to do it or someone in your marketing team to do it, don't underestimate the amount of work in understanding how all the platforms hang together. But as Jacob said, there is a stack of resources available to you, but you have to put in the time to understand how to use the platform. So I'd love to hear how you're pushing the envelope with your content, your campaigns, and how you're using Facebook ads to augment that. If so, how? Send me a tweet at Sean Callanan, or join in the discussion on the digital channel in the Sports Biz Slack community. If you're not part of the Sports Biz Slack community and you do listen to this podcast and you have been listening over the last year, you should be feeling FOMO. So please sign up. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Slack. We recently exploded past 700 sports executives. The conversation and chatter that's happening is a lot. I'm opening up, here I am on a Friday morning recording this intro, outro, and I'm looking at all the channels. There's 19 channels overall. There's some chatter happening in the campaigns channel. There's some strong chatter happening in the esports channel with a recent announcement that the NBA is going to have its own esports league with NBA 2K. The intros channels are always bubbling over, learning and meeting new people that are joining. Jobs channel's getting a bit more traction, so if you're looking for a job, jump in there. Reading is always good, people sharing different things that they're reading, and there is still a lot of people talking about what barbecue venues they're going to turn up to at South by Southwest, and luckily we have got Jacob in there as a local, knows the Austin scene, so he will be helping us out and finding out the best place to go. So sportsgeekhq.com/Slack to sign up. But if you have signed up, if you're one of the 700 and you feel like I haven't got back into it, my best advice is to use Slack on your phone. To sign in, if you've already signed in before, just go to sportsbiz.slack.com log in. If you forgot your password or you forgot what email you've used, please just send me an email. I'll help you get sorted. But it's something that I check in on daily, sort of when I'm looking at getting my coffee or even walking home, seeing what people are saying, and it's been a really good resource for me overall in the content that I read. So I'm getting a lot from you in the community. So if you're part of the Sports Biz Slack community, thank you very much. And also thank you very much for the feedback that we've been getting on our Instagram game lately. If you're following us on Instagram, SportsGeek HQ on Insta, or my account, Sean Callanan. I've made a concerted effort as one of my content goals to really up my Instagram game in 2017, and so we've given it a really big push to start, both in January and in February. Big thanks to Jolie, who's working behind the scenes and pulling together a lot of that content. But if you want to see quotes from podcast guests, some of your podcast reviews, some of my quotes, some of my keynote quips and slides, then please join me on Instagram, SportsGeek HQ, or at Sean Callanan. And if you're not one of those automated message bots that just leave random comments, please, I will respond to actual people. I will not respond to robots. Last thing before I wrap up this podcast, if you are in Melbourne, I want to talk about a new event series that I'm starting up with Steve Ellis as part of Chunky Media. It's a chunky event, and it is looking to connect and network and bring the digital marketing, e-commerce, retail, people that we're working with in the chunky media space outside of the world of sport. Just have some really good conversations and discussions around what's working in marketing, what's working in digital, those kind of things. We've got our first event is on March 2 at the arena at the NAB building at Docklands. And we've got a great panel. We've got 2 panelists so far looking at the moment and about to lock in and announce a third one. With Claire Smith from Roadshow and Faisal from Optus, head of digital at Optus. So it'll be a good discussion on what's working at the enterprise level from a digital point of view. So if you are in Melbourne and you have been listening to the podcast and you've been to some of my events before, whether it be sports business events or Twitter brekkies and those kind of things back in the day, please go to digitalbusinessevents.com.au and register. It's a free ticket. You'll meet some smart people. You'll hear some smart people on the panel, and I promise that you'll get value out of it. So I really do appreciate all the support that I do get from both listeners and people who follow. So love to see you there. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and you've been listening to the Sports Geek podcast.
Like the Sports Geek podcast? Find us on Facebook.com/SportsGeek. Check out which teams work with Sports Geek at SportsGeekHQ.com/clients. Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to SportsGeekHQ.com/iTunes. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek podcast.